Hi, I want to take a few minutes and talk about diet. Talk about what we eat. My entire life, I have been yo-yoing with my weight and drastically yo-yoing with my weight. As an adult, since my adult years, I have ranged with about 70 pounds that I have gone at various ages with. And I've done all those fad diets that are out there over the last 30 years. Wow, so it's been almost 30 years now. I have tried almost all of them in one day at one point or another in my life. Everything from Atkins, the newest keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian. I even did a juice. I've done juice diets. I've done raw food diets. I've done them all, or almost all of them. I did a lot of them. And they, like all diets, they kind of work, but they don't work. They work. They work until you stop doing them, that type of thing. It has to be a lifestyle, they always tell us, and things like that. And recently I've been having a real mental shift around dieting and what I eat. I have always at the core of myself believed that food is a celebration. It's about people coming together and being in celebration together. It's an activity that we all do and that we all come together for, right? The family dinner. We come together at breakfast. We come together at dinner. In the fields, in our old days when we were in the field workers, we used to come together from our various places around the field and come together for the afternoon meal. I always remember that of my relatives out on the prairies. And so this food has been a huge gathering point for humanity. And I have always felt that it should be a celebration. And what I've felt is actually it has not been a celebration in my life. As much as I've wanted to be a celebration, it has not been a celebration. It has been a struggle. It has been a frustration. It has been anger. It has been all the things that I've never wanted it to be. And it was never meant to be. So, one of the biggest things in my life that has been a massive struggle has been the family gatherings. And they've always been centered around food. And none of us eat the same way. None of us like the same style of cooking. None of us like the same food. And it's always who's going to do it, who's going to host it. And it's always a frustration and nobody wants to do it. And that's not what it's supposed to be, right? I hate that. And it causes me a lot of anxiety, a lot of pain. So I've really just recently, and I'm talking like in the last 6 months, there's been a gradual shift within me to my understanding around this. So food is how we, as a third dimensional being, bring life force into our body. That's the purpose behind it. All right. We require life force in order to live. The more we align our life, how our actions are, how our thoughts and emotions are, the more we align that to how our soul is designed, so how our energy matrix is made to express in this life, the more we align to that, the more we receive the divine life force from our source. All right. And the more we behave out of alignment with that design, the more we require food from our environment, right? Because our consciousness, so another way of looking at it is the more we raise our consciousness to align with a higher frequency, so we are opening our consciousness to a higher frequency, the less we require from our food, all right? So when we apply this to our thinking around food, when we eat another animal, that's a very dense form of energy, right? Of life force. And we kill that life force. So we take that life force from the third dimensional aspect that it is, and we bring it into our body. And that's how we nourish and fuel our body, because we're not receiving it from source. An animal has a very high life source for us of food. Vegetable has a higher frequency of food, of a life force energy, and is a different, it vibrates to us at a different frequency level. None of them are bad. So there is absolutely no diet that we have that is bad. We have to let that go. Okay? I have started referring to myself, I am what I would call a preferred vegetarian. And I call myself a preferred vegetarian because vegetarian food to me, vegan actually, I'm a preferred vegan is really what I am. And I say preferred vegan because vegan food to me is the highest level of celebration that we have at a third dimensional aspect. When I cook vegan food, I really embrace the flavors. I find it to be much, much more flavorful. I find it to be much more in tune. My body becomes more in tune with my environment and where the source of that food comes. The more food I eat from its so closer to its source, the better I feel about that food, the more of a celebration that it is. So for me, preferred vegan is the way, because that's also, there's another frame that comes into this. So it's where our frequency of awareness is, but it is also where the deepest belief in us is. So many of us believe we have a program that has been set into us at Christmas is a turkey, and this is celebration. This is family togetherness is a turkey at Christmas time. And at Easter, it's a ham. And it's funny because if you switch those, it can really rattle people. And this actually happened to me. I switched it. I didn't do the turkey when it was supposed to be the turkey. I did a ham instead. And wow, there was a massive backlash from that. And I was really hurt until now, in my more recent views, I kind of understand why. It's because the coming together of family, the celebration of food that was centered around food was the belief. We're tapping into the belief that we have that at this time of year, this is what you serve, and at that time of year, this is what you serve. So those are our beliefs that we hold about food. And what we hold about food will tell us what is the most healthy for our body. And if we are on a path, which we all are, it's a path of conscious awareness opening, this conscious awareness, as we open up our awareness and as we bring in more life force energy from source, we start to challenge what our beliefs are. And we have society beliefs that we buy into. And when we buy into a society belief, we take it upon ourselves. And when that society belief clashes with our personal belief, wow, we start to have a lot of problems. And this is where our energy gets out of alignment. So what is happening around diet? As a collective consciousness, we actually, we hold that family togetherness and celebration is around food. We hold that certain foods represent that. The turkey, the ham, right? The sandwich at the picnic, that type of stuff. Cheese, right? Cheese is a huge thing. We come together and wine and cheese in celebration. So happy celebration, right? So we hold this belief that our certain foods are around our celebrations. We also, though, hold a society view that of what we hold healthy. And right now, there are a lot of different frameworks as to what we say is healthy, because we're challenging ourselves to reveal what we really think and feel and how we view everything, right? So we have these challenges. So I prefer vegan food. I actually have a belief system that I am currently processing my way through and coming out of, that vegan food is the ultimate healthy diet on the planet. That is a belief that I have deep inside of me. And there's a lot of places that it comes from. And particularly in my childhood, I was very much in tune with nature. And I really felt that our food, I struggled a lot with food as a child and what I ate, because the meat, I didn't like meat. I've never really liked meat because I was so connected with the animals that were in my life. And that whole process, I was very aware of the process of food and how that meat got onto my table, and that it was another life that, I probably named. So I had a very emotional struggle with that. And yet at the same time, I was living in the vibrational paradigm that is what we ate. And my natural desire to eat vegetables was not being addressed. It was actually being suppressed in me. It was being out of alignment in my behavior, because the behavior was to eat the meat, and the vegetables were not part of that, as much a part of that behavior. I mean, we still have vegetables in our diet, but they weren't the center point of it, where I wanted, so there was this struggle that happened. And it happened from a very young age. And we see it all the time in children that have, look at our children, they eat terribly, right? What do we feed our children? How many parents complain about what their children eat? How many, wow. There's a whole thing around that. And so what we're being due. So we go through all these different diets. So now, as I grew up through life, I jumped from this diet to that diet, to that diet, to that diet, to this diet, to that diet. And it worked for a little while, so long as I bought into that program, until it bumped up against my other program. And that said, no, this doesn't work and that doesn't work. And now I went out of alignment. And now my body is going, well, I better store it, because I don't know where this woman's going to go next. So now it's stored everything in me, because it's physically we use fat for fuel when we need it. It comes from our history of being humans in a third dimensional world. Our bodies are designed to hold life force energy from our food in our bodies for the times that we don't have it, because we're not getting it from source, right? And right now we're being asked to clear that all up. And so we jump from one diet to another diet and to another diet, and there's so much confusion around food. And then there's also this other element that's going on right now, where as we're shifting into a higher frequency and a bigger conscious awareness, there is the old system that is playing out, right? That lower energy that's playing out in the toxicity of our food that's going on right now. That's a very low vibration, isn't it? But it's also, again, our bodies can still handle it if we have the belief that we can handle it. If we have a belief inside of us that says our body is going to succumb to those toxins, to that lower vibrational life force, that lower vibrational energy, then that's exactly what's going to happen. And we're going to develop irritations to our food, sensitivities for what's the biggest thing going on right now, right? Food sensitivities. We're all sensitive to everything. And it's because things like wheat, for instance, that's one of the biggest ones. Wheat is because it's genetically modified with a chemical. And we have a very deep belief that chemical is bad for us. So when we eat that food, we have a deep-seated belief that our bodies can't handle that. And so therefore our bodies cannot. But the reality is it's our belief that is telling us that, because our bodies actually can. It is not nourishing to our bodies. It is not a great source of life force energy. No, it's not, because it's of a lower, slower vibration, right? It's a lower vibration. So that is why there's not as much life force, really. There's not as much energy vibration in it. Therefore, when we eat it, it does slow our vibration, and we are more susceptible we are now vibrating at a lower rate, or it's pulling our vibrations down. Absolutely. But is it doing long-term harm to our bodies? Only if we believe it is. Okay. And how much we succumb to that lower vibration, how much we allow that lower vibration to embody us is really our belief around it. All right. If I hold that I am a higher frequency when I eat that food, when I have those toxins come into my body, they're not going to be that effective in my body. They're not really going to, oh, hold on. My screen stopped. I'm just going to pause. Sorry, my screen stopped. Okay. So if I have this belief of a lower vibration of food, so our bodies do incorporate all the lower energies and keep going out. This is not that we are leaving an energy behind. We're just increasing the frequency. Okay. And so what we bring in brings our frequency into a greater volume or not, right? A higher frequency rate or a lower frequency rate. And so the food we put in aligns to that. So what we actually need to do is to change our belief around it and learn to go within. Again, what is the biggest message out there? Go within. Find out what it is that we really need, right? And so when we go within and we start listening to what our bodies are calling us to do. So as we raise our frequency, our bodies are going to naturally want certain things brought into our bodies. So if you go within and your body and you're listening to your body and you have this day that your body needs meat, but you're a vegan, what's more important to your belief? Following the rules of a vegan? That black and white duality of rules, or following that natural intuition within you that says, you know what, for today I need this. Because whatever it is, you need that. Okay? This is actually what I would recommend, and this is the experiment that I'm working within myself. And I am feeling really quite good physically by following this, and it is a transition. I am going like this, but it is a transition, and my entire household is going through this transition, and they are all feeling better, and we're looking better, right? It's revealing, it's showing us. And so what we're doing, and this is what I recommend, is to go within, and when you have a craving come up, acknowledge it to the best of you can, to be in awareness of that craving and what it is, the emotion behind it. What is the emotion behind that craving? If I'm craving meat, maybe it's actually I'm craving connection. And maybe it's about family. And maybe I can have a higher vibrational food by being in connection with someone else. Or here is another message. If you are of craving that meat and you don't have an aspect, it's not, the connection is not there, connecting to that food is a really good way. So in Reiki, we actually Reiki our food. So we place our hands over our food and we put the intention of love into our food. Well, if you take that meat and you put the intention of love into and give thanks, right? Like there's a lot of religions that tell us to give thanks for our food. We are putting gratitude and thank you into that life force that's coming to us. And no matter what that life force is, whether it's an animal or a vegetable or a fruit or water or anything, when we put that intentional vibration into it, when thank it, we are raising the frequency of it. And in the end, it is the ideal thing. So when it comes to our eating, being more conscious of how we eat, or not, more conscious of what we are eating and what our bodies are telling us about that food, why we want it, why we are tasting that flavor, because that is telling us where we're vibrating. So what is our beliefs around our food? So being conscious of the belief that we have individually and in our families and our society, and how they are coming into clash with each other, as we become more aware. Does that I don't know if that cleared anything up for anybody, or maybe just expanded the way you were thinking. In the end, no diet is right or wrong. No diet is bad or good. We have to move past those labels and start just accepting and seeing them for the vibration of where they are and where we are, and choosing to eat in vibrational match of where we are and when and what that vibration is telling us. And it is a matter of how much life force we are receiving from divine and how much life force we are receiving from third dimension. I hope that gives you a few things to think about. In the end, where you are, what you eat, what you think, what you're doing, the choices you're making, everything about where you are in your life is perfect. Stop judging it. It's perfect. Just accept yourself for exactly where you are. And how do we do this? We go within and love ourselves for exactly where we are. Stop judging yourself as good or bad or anything. Just observe and accept and love yourself. Love you all. Hope this helped you in your thinking.